Hello everyone. In this session, we will be talking about the box and whisker plot. A box and whisker plot, which is often referred to as a box plot, is a robust data visualization technique used to display the distribution, spread, and central tendency of a dataset. It's particularly effective for comparing multiple datasets or identifying the outliers within a single dataset. In a box and whisker plot, the data is divided into quartiles, with a rectangular box representing the interquartile range that is known as IQR, which contains the middle 50% of the data, and a vertical line or whisker which extends from the box to the minimum and maximum values with a defined range, helping identifying the outliers. Now, this type of plot provides a concise summary of the key statistical measures, including the median, quartiles, and potential outliers. During our practical demonstration in Tableau, we will explore how to create the box and whisker plots to visualize and analyze the distribution of data effectively. You'll also learn how to interpret the components of a box plot, customize the labels and colors for clarity, and also identify the patterns and anomalies within your dataset. Whether you are comparing the test scores among different schools, evaluating the distribution of product prices, or any dataset with numerical values, Box and Whisker Plot offers a comprehensive view of your data in statistical manner. Now, let's go to the Tableau screen and see how we can create the Box and Whisker Plot. So, to create a Box and Whisker Plot, the minimum requirement is, so if I go over here and show me menu, the minimum requirement is zero or more dimensions and one or more measures. This is because whenever we are plotting any box and whisker plot, we are usually talking about different measure, and we are trying to look at the outliers that are present in a measure. Now, if we say what is an outlier, how can we define outlier? So I'll give you an example. Let's say if you are trying to compare the salary of different individuals working at a similar position, and everyone's salary is nearly 35,000, and it is between these range. Now you find a person who is working at the same position, but their salary is say 50,000. If you look at the other population and a single person or maybe another single person, their salary is far from the range of the whole population. Now they both can be termed as an outlier because the whole population's salary is between the range of 30 to 25,000. But since two people or one people's their salary is increased at that point, so this wide gap is not justified in some cases. So they are known as outliers. Now, how can these outliers affect your data? Sometimes if you are say trying to find out the average salary of a person working at that position, and if you try to calculate the salary with the help of these individual salaries and divided by the number of persons working, so everyone's average salary would be very high compared to the original average salary that should be coming. So these outliers can affect our data in a way that our whole visualization fails at some point. So that's why we need to take care of these outliers. So let's try to find out how we can try to identify the outliers with the help of Box and Whisker plot. Over here, you can see the requirement to create a Box and Whisker plot is that it says use at least one dimension or disaggregate. That means we have to disaggregate the measures. Let's see how we can do it. For example, if I'm trying to find out the different measures box plot. So for that, what I do is I have to go in the analysis option and I have to turn off this aggregate measure. After turning off this aggregate measure, what would happen is that say if this is turned on and I'm double clicking on the sales value, you can see over here I'm receiving the sum of sales. It is aggregating that value. But if I turn it off, it would not sum that whole measure. So now I'm getting that measures individual values. If you want to convert it into box and whisker plot, you can go in the show me menu and then click on box and whisker plot. This would convert your data into box whisker plot. Now, this sales data is not looking too good. So let's clean up the screen and try to fit some realistic values over. Let's talk a bit about the quantities. I want to see what is the quantity that each person purchases or what are the maximum number of quantities a person is purchasing. So I double click on the quantities. Over here, I can disintegrate this aggregates and I can click on box and whisker plot. Now let's try to understand how can we read this box and whisker plot. I'll fit this in the entire view. So let's see what are the components of this plot. If you talk about this lower line, this is known as the lower whisker. This is the starting point of box and whisker plot. Same as it, the upper point, the upper line is known as the upper whisker, and it is the ending point of that particular box plot. Between this, there is this rectangle, and over here, the 50 percentile of our data lies. So whatever values are present in our data set, 50% of those values would be present inside this particular box. This particular point where you can see this gray region ending and the other gray region starting is the value where our median of the data lies. So right now, if I try to identify what are the lower hinge value, lower whisker value, so lower hinge is this particular line, this vertical line which is connecting this lower whisker to this box. It is known as lower hinge. And the upper hinge is this vertical line which is connecting this rectangle with this horizontal line. So this is the lower whisker, the lower hinge. Then we have this box which contains the 50 percentile of our data. Then we have the upper hinge and upper whisker. And over here we have the median value of our data set. Now, all these points which are outside of the box would be known as the outliers. And why are they known as outliers? Because as you can see, the maximum purchases that are being made by maximum of the customers are between say 2 and 5 items per order. But there are few customers which also purchase 6, 7, 8, 9, or even say 10 orders also, 10 items also per order. But there are very low values of these. If you see after 9, it has stopped. So upper whisker contains the value till 9, and after all these values would be termed as the outliers because they are very far from the usual ordered stock items, like the quantities which are being ordered by typically every person. So this is the one way in which you can try to identify the outliers in the box and whisker plot. The other way could be, let's say if I'm trying to find out what is the quantity that is being sold in different subcategories. So for that, what I'll do is I'll just drag this subcategory in the columns. Now you can see this multiple box and subplots. Here you can easily identify which is the particular category this is which is making the maximum of per item sale. So over here, if you see, for example, this art is there. Here the box plot ends at quantity 6. And for others, it ends at somewhere over 9 only. Same with the with copiers, machines, and storage. The upper whisker ends at 6. So for that, these are probably the outliers. So if I talk about the storage units, there are very few people who purchase more than 6 items. But if we talk about the accessories, people can usually purchase 9 items. That is a common thing to do because the upper whisker is ending over it. But if you talk about the maximum population purchases somewhere over 2 to 5 items. That's why the median is also coming at 3 because it is a center value. So in this way, you can try to identify the outliers and the maximum percentile of your population. Now, if you want to change the color of this particular box plot, it's what you can do is, since I have taken this subcategory over here, I can again drag the subcategory in colors and this would change the colors for every box. Here you can easily identify the colors. If you don't want to see this card over here, you can even hide it because we already have these subcategories listed in this access. So I can easily hide it and this would give me some more space in this particular visual. So now the space is good. If you want to change the color, you can go to the color and click on edit colors, and from over here you can edit the colors or even assign some palettes. Now let's talk about another kind of box and whisker plot. This time I'm taking say discount. So if I'm taking discount, converting it into the basically I am disaggregating the measure, and here I am clicking on the box and whisker plot. Now let's see what is the discount offered in each of the subcategories. So for that, again I drag the subcategory over here in columns and subcategory in the colors. Now you can see that multiple subcategories are there and the discounts that has been offered in that particular category. So we have already seen that tables was causing us too much loss. Why is it? Because see, if you talk about tables, they are even giving 70% of the discount also in some cases. If I talk about the accessories, it is not giving the discount more than say 45 or nearly about 50%. There are few cases in which they are trying to give the discount up to 70% and 60%, but it has never gone past 70%. If I talk about few more categories over here, let's say about furniture, if I talk, it is same thing that is happening. 60% up to 60% discount has been offered, and it is sometimes common also, but no one has been offered more than 60% too often. That's why I can see some outliers. So in this way, what you can do is you can try to find out the outliers, and you can see over here more than 80% also profit discount. I mean, is provided by some people. So on tables, it has been given, and that is one of the reasons that is causing us some loss in that case. So in box and whisker plot, you can try to find out the outliers, and then you can find out the reason for other things that are happening around that particular category, subcategory, or particular dimension that. Now the question arises: can I make box and whisker plot for every kind of measure available? So no. Let's talk about sales. If I talk about sales, and if I try to create this for every subcategory which is available, let's convert it into box and whisker plot. Now you can see that I am able to make it. There is no problem in making that particular plot, but it is very difficult to read. And this difficult reading is the main thing that can like harm our visualization over here. I cannot easily visualize this particular points because right now if I try to look at this particular box, I won't be able to make any judgment over here. The only judgment that I can make is that this machines has given me a sale of even more than 22,000, but it is just an outlier. So these kind of outliers can be easily identified, but when the range is too much, that time this becomes very difficult to view. So no, for every kind of subcategory or say for every kind of measure, I'm not able to create a box in Whisker plot. And even if I am able to create, it is very difficult. So this was the way in which you can try to create the box and Whisker plot to view the different outliers and the range of your numerical data. I hope this was clear to you. In next lecture, we will look at how can we create Gantt chart. Thank you.